Hello, everyone, and welcome to another live session at TalentSprint. In this live session, we will be discussing reasoning questions. Now, the next thought that comes to your mind is that what sort of reasoning questions will we be discussing today? So let me tell you, though some of you might have seen in the teaser, today we will be discussing reasoning questions that have been asked very frequently in the recruitment drives of the IT companies that you all have been wanting to work for. Now, how did we select these? Now, usually when we say these are frequently asked questions, we cannot say the exact question. The exact same question was asked 5 or 6 times, let's say in the last 6-8 months. Usually questions of this type. So what we have done is we have identified certain question types which we have seen have occurred through a pattern in the recruitment drives of most IT companies that most of you dream to work with. So in today's live session, I have put together about 12 to 15 problems that we will be discussing in the span of next 1 hour. And while we discuss these questions, keep coming up with your answers, keep clarifying your doubts, because this is what this live session is exclusively for. To ensure that you understand what we are explaining and you are able to get the dream IT jobs and crack the recruitment drives of your dream IT companies. So somehow I don't see anyone saying hi, hello to each other today. So let me see how many of you are actually there watching this live class, all geared up while we start discussing some questions. So for me right now, there's a blank screen on the chat window. I don't see anyone who's out there saying hi, hello. So hi guys, if there's any one of you out there, let's start the session. And like we say, it's always good to start something by saying hi, hello to each other, by greeting each other. So I'm looking forward for some greetings, some of you greeting each other. Okay, so we do have one person saying hello. Hi. Okay, let's see who else is out there. Hi, Harsha. Okay, we know we have Harshachana. So while most of you are saying hi, hello to each other, let me tell you a little about TalentSprint. Hi, Sunil. So TalentSprint is a skill development organization headquartered primarily in Hyderabad. We have lots of learning videos across on YouTube. So you can watch videos on our YouTube channel. And if you want to get a dream IT job, you can always come down to Hyderabad. You can join our training courses that run in the classroom in Hyderabad. Recently, we have also, opened a lot of partner centers across South India and are very soon branching out to different parts of the country where you can watch these live classes exclusively online and get your dream IT job. Okay, so I can see there's Sunil, Bhavya, Ajay, Vineet, and a lot of other people. Okay, so I think let's start with our live session. So now I told most of you that in today's live session, we will be discussing reasoning questions. Now, like I always tell you guys, I'm going to repeat yet again, reasoning questions are a mix of a sort of questions that judge both your verbal ability and your quantitative ability. Why? Because the questions are usually framed in such a way that you need to have command over the language to be able to understand what the question is verbally asking from you, and quantitative ability because knowledge of maths is required to solve the question once you have understood what the question is asking you. Okay, so without wasting any more time, let's dig deep and start and see what questions I have chosen for you guys today. Okay, so let's look at our first question of the day. Now, as you all can see that this question is from syllogisms. All harps are music, all musics are flutes. Now, we know that every time we have questions from syllogisms, there are usually 2 or 3 statements. Those statements tell us something. Now, please remember these statements may or may not logically be true, but do not care about it. You must consider every word that is given in the statement to be true, and usually plot a Venn diagram. A Venn diagram, when plotted for a syllogism, makes it really easy for you to solve the question. So let's see and let's try and plot the Venn diagram. So statement 1 says all harps are music, which means that harp is pretty much a subset and music is a set that contains harps. Let's read the second statement. All music are flutes, which means that flutes is actually the universal set for us in this question. I can see Rami has already come up with an answer. Let us see. Let us look at the conclusions that we are expected to deduce from these statements and then see what is the correct answer. So conclusion 1 says all flutes are music. Now, if you notice, music is actually a subset of flutes, which means that all music will always be flutes, but all flutes may not always be music. Therefore, we can say conclusion 1 does not follow. Let us look at the second conclusion. All harps are flutes. So as we can all see from this diagram, harp is a subset in the universal set of flutes. Therefore, we can observe from the Venn diagram that this conclusion is true. So when we going further down to our options, we see option number B has the states the statement only conclusion 2 follows. Therefore, our answer for this question is only conclusion 2 follows. Yes, Harsha. Yes, Rami. You guys were absolutely correct. The answer to this question is only conclusion 2 follows. This was one of the really simple questions. It's good to start with simple and build towards the more difficult questions. Great. Let's see the second question for the day. The second question for the day, boys and girls, is from the topic that we all know as coding and decoding. Now, what do we do in coding and decoding? In coding and decoding, we all know that usually there is a word or there is a statement that has been coded using some, reasoning tricks that have been used to, code the given word or statement. And we are expected to identify the code and usually apply it to another word as well. So here they tell us that the word stronger, they tell us that the word STRONGER is written as TSSNOFFQ. Now we need to identify the trick that has been used to, the trick that has been used to code this word, because once we identify that trick, it will be very, very easy for us to code any other word with the same trick. Now, if you look at S and T, we know that S comes before the alphabet T. So here we can say T minus 1 gives us the alphabet S. Now, if we look at S, we know that here we have S while here we have T. We know that the alphabet T comes after the alphabet S. Now, we can say S plus 1 is equal to T. Now, if you notice, there is a sort of a pattern that is being followed here of minus 1 plus 1. Let's extend it to the other alphabets and see. So we know that the third alphabet here is S. S minus 1 is R. The fourth alphabet that we have here is N. We know that N plus 1 is O. Then the fifth alphabet here in the series is O. We know that O minus 1 is equal to N. The next alphabet in the series for us is F. We know that F plus 1 is equal to G. After that, we again have the alphabet F, but this time we will be subtracting 1 from it. So F minus 1 is going to give us an E this time. And lastly, we have the alphabet Q. Q plus 1 is going to give us the alphabet R. So this is how we got this code. Now we need to apply the same code to the code to the alphabet, to the series of alphabet that has been given to us in the form of a code, and that is G, Q, F, D, E, N, N. Now let's start. Let's start with -1. We know G minus 1 is equal to F. We know Q plus 1 is equal to R. We know F minus 1 is equal to E. We know D plus 1 is equal to E. We know N minus 1. What is N minus 1, boys and girls? N minus 1 is equal to N minus 1. What is N minus 1 equal to? I'm looking for some of you to answer this. Come on, come on, come on. We have got F, R, double E, and E, which tells us that option number 1 is not possible. So we can easily eliminate one option from here. So this is going to give us D, F, R, E, E, D. Then the next alphabet that we have here in the series is F, R, E. I'm sorry, this should actually be E. And then we have the alphabet N. N plus 1 is going to give us, what is N plus 1 going to give us? N plus 1 is going to give us M. Great. And then lastly, once again, we have N. N minus 1 is here. It's going to give us O. And here, this is going to give us M. Therefore, what is the answer here? What is the answer here, boys and girls? Come on, the answer is out there for you on your computer screens, and all you have to do is you have to choose the correct answer from the options that have been given to you. Yes, the correct answer is option 3. So now let me take this opportunity to tell you guys that every time you see a question on coding and decoding, you must try the various permutations and combinations that are out there and see that what the correct answer is. I'm going to clean this out and I'm going to let you guys look at this question, see if you have any more doubts, and if you have any doubts, please ask. Look at this question, observe if you are still confused as to how we reached our answer, how we got to this answer, please ask. Now, while we do that, let me tell you, while you guys do that, let me quickly just give you a couple of tricks or so about coding and decoding. Let me just give you guys a couple of tricks about coding and decoding. Now, every time when you guys see a certain code that appears on your screen, you have to be very open to the various kind of tricks that might have been used to actually write that code. There could be, here we saw a pattern of +1, -1. However, a certain code could be written with just a pattern of +1, or it could be written with a pattern of -1. Or the pattern could also be +1, +2, +3, +4. Or let's say it could also be in the decreasing order, in a descending order of +5, +4, +3, +3, +3, +2, +1, and so on. So you have to observe and you have to find out based on this what word is going to, how can the word be coded. And to do this, if you know the series of alphabets really well, if you know that A is the first alphabet, B is the second alphabet, C is the third alphabet, you save a lot of time. You don't have to count on your fingertips every time, like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. Okay, I is the 9th alphabet. On the contrary, if I already know that a certain, like let's say if a certain alphabet falls at a certain position, like T is the 19th alphabet, T is the 19th letter in the alphabetical order. So it becomes really easy for you and you don't have to count on your fingertips anymore. So next time when you solve questions on coding, decoding, ensure that you know the alphabetical orders and the letters by heart, by the name, by the number that follows its position. Great. So let's move to the next question. Okay. Okay, now as you all can see, this next question is once again based on syllogisms. A car is no boat. Now, a car is no boat. This is a syllogism of a slightly different kind, something that you guys may or may not have seen before. That is one reason why I particularly chose this question for today's live class. A car is no boat means these are two different elements that have nothing of intersection in between them. So we can say that this represents a car and this represents a boat. So there we go, car, and there we go for boat. Then they tell us some boats are water bicycles. Now, the minute the second statement steps in, there are two possibilities that arise. Possibility one, if we take it directly, some boats are water bicycles. So some boats are water bicycles. Now, I will mark this as possibility one and I will discuss possibility two with you. Now, the second possibility is that water bicycles may have something in common with cars, a part that is not common with boats. So that diagram can be plotted like this. And this would be my water bicycles. Now, if you look, if you look at the second diagram, there is a part that it is sharing in common with the boats. There is also a part it is sharing in common with the cars. And at the same time, we are ensuring that cars and boats do not have anything in common, because statement one tells us that a car is no boat. Now, let us look at the options of the statements and let us see which statement does not follow. No boat is a water bicycle. Please notice that says which of the conclusions below logically doesn't follow. So we have to find that one statement that is not true, which we cannot derive from these two diagrams that we have drawn on the screen. So no boat is a water bicycle. We cannot say that. That is not true, because the second statement here categorically tells us that some boats are water bicycles, which means that if you see at the beginning, the first statement itself is the statement that doesn't follow and is actually your answer. Let's go out to the other statements also and see. Some water bicycles are no cars. Of course, both the diagrams, these water bicycles are not cars. These water bicycles are not cars. And notice, it does not say all water bicycles are not cars. It says some water bicycles are not cars. And this is a statement that can be derived from both the diagrams. Let's go to the third one. No boat is a car. We know that no boat is a car. Of course, this statement is true because it has already been stated in the first statement that has been given to us. The last one. Some cars are no water bicycles. Now, whether you look at the first diagram or the second diagram, we know none of the car here is a water bicycle. If none of the car is a water bicycle, obviously some cars are not water bicycles. And in this diagram, some cars, the cars that have been left in this area, are still not water bicycles. So I can see a lot of you are writing B and D as the correct answer. But like I repeat here, the correct answer is A. Because we are clearly asked here, which conclusion does not follow? So which is that one conclusion that we cannot come to from these given statements? And from these given statements, once plotted in Venn diagrams, once arriving at two different possibilities, we know that no boat is a water bicycle is a condition that will not hold true, that is not possible. Therefore, the answer here is option A. I hope that all of you have understood this question. Like I always do, I'm going to give you guys about 10 seconds to look at this question, analyze, observe, and see as to how exactly we got this answer. And do not forget that sometimes in syllogisms we have to take more than one diagram because there is always the scope of more than one possibility. Okay, I'm looking for those of you who've written the remix overload here. Yes, the remix overload, totally. The answer is option A. Sunil, Harsha, I'm looking forward to hear from you guys because you guys said, great Sunil, great to see that thumbs up from you. A thumbs up from my side too. Great to know that you got the correct answer. Okay, which means that we can move on to our next question for the day. There goes on screen our next question for the day. We have to look at these following statements and we have to come to a conclusion about which of these statements represents that W is the grandfather of H. Now let us say they tell us that the multiplication sign is represented of sister of, the addition sign represents mother of, the subtraction sign represents father of, and the division symbol is representative of brother of. Now, before you jump directly to start plotting line diagrams for this, just one or two tricks that you should keep in mind. They tell us here that W is the grandfather of H, which means that W should always be a male. Only when W is a male will W be a grandfather. This equation is independent of the gender of H. So H may be a male or female. This equation is going to be independent of the gender of H. Yes. And the last thing, there have to be 3 generations that are involved here. Why do 3 generations have to be involved? Because there will be H, there will be the father of H, and then there will be the grandfather of H, which means that there have to be 3 effective generations, and H and W always has to be a male. So with these 2 pointers, let's start plotting the line diagrams. Let's look at what the first statement says. The first statement says W plus T, which means that W is the mother of T. Now, if you notice, I have already told you that since W is the grandfather, W should be a male. Now, if you are attempting this question in an exam, in a competitive exam where you are racing against time, it is going to be a good idea to stop attempting this question right here because you know that W is a female. But let us, for today, for this live class where we are discussing questions in great detail, let me go ahead and plot this diagram. So we know W is the mother of T. Then they tell us that T is the father of H. So T is the father of H. Now we already know that this is not possible since W is a female. Let's look at the second one. They tell us W division T. That means that W is the brother of T. Now W is male here, but notice the second thing. We clearly plotted a rough diagram here to tell us that there are 3 generations. Now if you notice, there are only 3 elements here. If 2 elements are in the same generation, means that even if the third element H is going to be in another generation, there will just be 2 generations. So once again, if you are attempting this question in a competitive exam, stop right here, eliminate this option and move on. But let's see, they tell us that T is the father of H. But we know that this diagram, also this equation does not represent what we want. Let's look at the third one. They tell us that W is the sister. They tell us that W is the sister of T. Now, both the concepts that we discussed here will not hold exactly tell us that we should not go any further. Why? Because W needs to be a male and W is a female here. Bad idea. We need 3 generations. There are only three elements. The first, the second, the relation between the first and the second element is in the same generation, which means that we will never go to the third generation also. But still, let's see what the third part is. They tell us T plus H. Now, T plus H would be representative of that T is the mother of H. So, T is the mother of H. Again, not possible. Let's look at the fourth diagram. The fourth diagram says that W is the brother. Again, W is the brother of T. Again, if you notice, the diagram that we have just put forward, same generation, only three elements. Even if we have another element which does take us to the next generation, telling us that T is the mother of Q does not hold true because we do not go to three generations. Therefore, our answer, yes, here is none of these. Now, I hope that most of you understood this question, and please remember that every time you solve such questions, it is not always important. It is not always important that you guys actually go on. It is not important that you guys actually always go on and you guys actually go on and plot it and see for yourselves. Just a minute, yeah. It is not always important, that you guys plot out the entire line diagram. Sometimes just, figure out those one or two small tricks in every question that are going to ensure that you don't actually even have to draw the entire line diagram in every case. Like in this case, the minute we saw that we were speaking of a grandfather, we knew that one person has to be, that W has to be a male, and second, there have to be three generations. So minute within any of the family equation we saw W was a female, we stopped right there. And the minute we saw that, that there were two people in the same generation, we could stop right there because there were three elements only in every line equation. So remember, it is tricks like these that help you save time, reach your answer, reach the correct answer in the least amount of possible time, and ensure that you can attempt the maximum number of questions and guess, and score the maximum marks possible to do well and get your dream IT job. Okay, so let's move to the next question. Okay. Okay, now let's move to the next question for the day. Okay, the next question for the day is once again on the same lines. So this time I'm going to be slightly mean and I'm going to ask you guys to try and solve this question on your own. Try and solve, take about 30 seconds, solve this question on your own, give your answers on the screen, and then I will discuss this question with you. Okay, this time we have to find out that M is the nephew of R. Please remember, you may need only two generations this time, but again, we have to be gender specific because when someone is a nephew, he definitely has to be a male. Okay, so while you guys are, solving this question, I have a question for me on the screen that I can see. Someone has asked, TalentSprint will guide you to get placed in any company. So we have a lovely classroom program that runs at our various centers in Hyderabad, in Gachibowli, in Amirpet, in Dilshad Nagar and Sikandrabad. So students who enroll with us in the classroom programs are not only trained, but are also eligible for placement opportunities because we ensure that you get interviews and then you have to crack your interviews. So we give you a bandwidth of about 12 months where you can appear for as many interviews as you want, and the minute you crack your first interview, the job is yours. And these companies come to our campus in TalentSprint and pick up our students through a proper recruitment process, but The silver lining here is that the competition is only amongst TalentSprint students. So companies, all companies from varied companies, more than 700 plus companies, come to our Hyderabad campus to our Hyderabad campus and hire TalentSprint students. So yes, in case you want TalentSprint to assist you with a job, you can come to Hyderabad and enroll for our classroom program. Okay, I'm looking for some of you to give me an answer, and I still haven't got an answer to my question. Okay, I think let's start discussing the question. Okay, so once again, multiplication means sister of, addition means mother of, minus means father of, division means brother of. Okay, let's start plotting with the first diagram. The first diagram. They tell us that M is the brother of T. They tell us that M is the brother of T and T is the father of Q. Now, we know that we are not even ending is the brother Q. And then the next thing okay, I'm sorry, it shouldn't be Q here. It should be R. My mistake totally. Okay. Now, if you notice here, the equation is in reverse, where actually M is the uncle and the gender of R is not known to us. M is the uncle and gender of R is not known to us. Therefore, this doesn't hold true. Let's go to the second one. Okay, the second one says that R is the brother of T. So R is the brother of T. Next, they tell us that T is the father of M. So T is the father of M. Now wait. Most of you may get extremely tempted to mark this as the answer, but notice that yes, R is definitely the uncle, but is M the nephew or the niece is something that we do not know, because we do not know the gender of M. The gender of M is not known to us. Let's go to the third diagram. The third tells us that R is the sister of T. They tell us that R is the sister of T. Then they tell us that T is the mother of M. And then they tell us that M is the sister of J. Now they tell us that M is the sister of J. Now once again, if you notice that R is there, but R is this time the aunt, yes, but M is the niece this time. M is not the nephew. And like we said, to be nephew, you have to be a male, but here M is the niece of R. Now let's move to the next diagram. The next diagram tells us that R is the brother of T. So they tell us that R is the brother of T. After that, they tell us that T is the father of M. T is the father of M. And then they tell us that M is the brother of J. M is the brother of J. So here, if you notice, the gender of M is known to us. M is a male. And since he is the son of the brother of R, R becomes the uncle, M becomes the nephew, and therefore the correct answer is going to be option 4. Therefore, the correct answer is going to be option 4. Now, take another 10 seconds, analyze this question, and feel free to ask any questions if you have any. Great Remix Overload, you're always welcome to our offices here in Hyderabad. Like I said, we have offices in Gachibowli, Ameerpet, Dilshuk Nagar, and Sikandrabad. Okay, so I'm going to assume that most of you have understood this question. I'm wondering if I have the power to make that assumption, but I think I am going to make that assumption and I am going to move ahead. Okay. I think time to move ahead to our next question for the day. Now, this next question, let me tell you, before you even start reading it, is really simple. Sometimes when you get some simple questions, you try and wonder is something complicated about them. But wait, there can be some really simple questions in the paper too. Let's start reading the question. Ravi cycles 3 kilometers towards the east and takes the first right turn and cycles for another 5 kilometers up to point A. From point A, he takes a left turn and cycles 7 kilometers to point B. After covering another 4 kilometers towards east, he rests for a while. How much distance has Ravi covered from point A till the time he has actually stopped to get some rest? Let's plot the diagram. Like I always say, any question that is on directions, you should always start by drawing a default direction diagram: north, south, east, west. Let's start. So let us assume this is the starting point of Ravi. So Ravi cycles 3 kilometers towards east. Hello, Ravi. We have moved you 3 kilometers towards east. Then we need to, he needs to take a right turn and move 5. Takes a right turn, moves 5. Then what does he do? He takes a left, moves 7, and this is point A. Ravi moves 7. Okay, then they say Ravi from here, which is point B, moves for another 4. And now Ravi takes rest here. So let's say Ravi takes rest here. Now, if you see, this question is really simple. All you have to do is 7 plus 4, 11. That is the difference. That is the distance between his current point and point A. Yes, Harsha, the answer here is 11. Now, there is something I think I need to tell you guys about questions like this. Because what happens is often when you see questions like this, just a second. Okay, often when we see questions like this, what happens is we wonder, how can an answer be so simple? We tend to read the question again, we tend to solve it again, and we're like, how can a question so simple, something that just needs me to add 2 numbers, be asked in a recruitment drive? Now, if you are wasting your time to read that question again and again and actually find something complex and difficult in that question, then you are doing exactly what these companies want you to do. They want you to think that a simple question can also be complex, and they want you to waste time. And you're doing exactly that, which is a very, very bad idea. So it is highly possible so that every time that you get, there are 100 questions that you're expected to solve in, let's say, about 90 to 120 minutes, depending from 1.5 hours to 2 hours. There are such 4 or 5 questions that are only there on the paper to confuse you and make you waste time and make you wonder if you are approaching them in the correct way. With leaving you with this thought, I will move on to the next question for the day. Let's see what is the next question that we have in store for the day. Okay, let me share the presentation once again with you guys. And we move to our next question. Okay. Now, this next question, boys and girls, is a question on series. Now, often when you get questions on series, in the question on series, you have to often find out what may come next, what may come before. And for that, you almost usually have to decode a code. It is always a code that, once you're able to decode a code, you will be able to find out what is the trick. So let us see here. Let us, actually break this up and see RSUX something G, OQTX something I. Okay. Now let's try and see what is probably the difference between, R, S, R. So we have R, we have S, we have U, and we have X. And then we have to identify something. Now, if you, like I already mentioned to you guys before, that you should know the position of alphabets in the alphabetic order. What is the numeric position? Now, if you would know that the numeric position of R is 18. Now, R has the numeric position of 18. S has the numeric position of 19. U has the numeric position of 21. And X has the numeric position of 24. Now, if I notice, I realize there's a pattern. I realize R plus 1 is taking me to S. I've realized S plus 2 will take me to U. I have realized that U plus 3 will take me to X, and X plus 4. Now, that is where the trick lies. So we know R plus 1, we know 18 plus 1 is equal to 19. That is actually S. S is the 19th alphabet. 19 plus 2 is equal to 21, which is the alphabet U. Then we know that U is the 21st alphabet. U plus 3 is 24, which is actually X. Then X, we know X is the 24th alphabet. Then it is 1, 2, 3. X plus 4 will give you 28. Now we know that there are only 26 alphabets in there are only 26 letters in the series of alphabets, which means we have to go to the second alphabet, which is actually B. Now, one point, if you want, you can immediately stop here, and because there is only one option that is starting from B, and you can mark that as the correct answer. However, in any case, if there were, let us say, two options that were starting from B, in that case, we would need you to also identify the break between the second alphabet. So let's also analyze the second alphabet and see what if there was more than one option that was beginning from B. So let us take O. We know we have O here, then we have Q, then we have T, and then we have X. Great. So if you guys know that O, if you know, O is actually the 15th alphabet, Q is actually the 17th alphabet, T is actually the 20th alphabet, and X is the 24th alphabet. So I can clearly see that here there's a difference of plus 2, then there's plus 3, there's plus 1, plus 2, plus 3, plus 4, which means I have to do a plus 5 here. So one quick way to quickly do this would be 24 plus 5 would be 29. Then we know, since there are only 26 alphabets, 29 minus 26 would be 3, and we know that C is the third letter in the series of alphabets, and therefore our answer is BC. Like I repeat myself yet again, if you were doing this question in a competitive exam, it would be a good idea to stop right here, since you have found B and there is only one option that is beginning with B. However, if there was more than one option that was beginning with B, then you would have very little chance, very little option, but to actually find out the second alphabet too. So I can see here how most of you have got the answer to this question, and I will quickly move on to the next question of the day. Now let's move on to the next question, which is once again on coding and decoding. Now a lot of you there actually must be wondering that why have I picked up so many questions on coding and decoding? Well, the clear reason for this is that if you pick up the logical ability section or the reasoning ability section, different words for the same thing, you will notice that a lot of questions are asked from the coding and decoding section. So let us try and see that what is the code here. Now the minute I see G-O-N-E written as N-O-E-G-G, and the minute I see L-O-A-D written as AODLL. And they asked me to find the quote for sword. There is one thing for sure. I know in this one, I can see that the first alphabet is repeated at the end twice. Again, the first letter is repeated twice. So I definitely know that this has to end with an SS. There have to be 3 more letters before it. Now, if you notice here, if there was only one option that was ending with a double S, I could have marked my answer immediately. However, we cannot do this here because we have 2 options here that are ending from double S, and we have the trickiest of all options, that is none of these. Therefore, it becomes really imperative for us to solve the question and see what the answer is. Okay. So let's say G is 1, O is 2, N is 3, O is 4. So here if you see, the third alphabet has come first. The second alphabet remains true to its spot. And the fourth alphabet comes at the third position, and this is 1. Let's see for load. Again, the third alphabet has come at the first spot. The second alphabet has remained at its spot. The fourth alphabet comes to the third spot. The fourth letter comes to the third spot. And this is there. So we know that 3, 2, 4, 1 is sort of a pattern being followed here. And if we follow that here, so R is the third alphabet. R is here the third alphabet. The second alphabet here is O. The fourth alphabet is T, and double S, that is the first alphabet. So yes, the correct answer here is the second option, ROTSS. Yes, ROTSS is the correct answer here. Great. I am sure most of you have understood this was one of those really, really easy tricks that have been used for coding and decoding. Great, let's move to our next question. Now, this next question, the reason why I picked this up, I found this question pretty interesting. Let's see if you guys can crack the trick behind this question. How many such pairs of letters are there in the word contrast, each of which has as many letters between them in the word as in English alphabet? Now, I'm sure a lot of you that the minute you read such questions in the question paper, in a recruitment drive, your primary, the first instinct that you have is to just drop this question and move ahead. Now, read this question once again. Let me break down this question for you, and then trust me, you will realize how simple this question is. Let me just write the keyword here, that is contrast. C-O-N-T-R-A-S-T. Notice we have done nothing till now but just written contrast. They tell us how many pairs of letters are there in this word that occur in the same way, that have the same number of alphabets between, that have the same number of letters between them, that have the same number of letters between them as in the actual alphabetical order. I repeat myself. We have to identify the letters that have the same number of letters between them when they occur in the alphabetical order. So I'm sure the first thing that all of you have identified here is ST, because PQRST. Now, I'm wondering what is the second pair that most of you have identified. I am looking forward to hear from, because Rami has said 2, Azra has said 2, Zohaib has said 2. So guys, what is the second pair that you guys have identified? Rami, Azra, Zohaib. This question is only specifically for you guys and all those of you who have identified another pair. Let me hear from you. The clock is ticking away and I want to know what is the second pair. Well, looks like nobody's going to tell me, but then let me tell you. O-N. We know the alphabets. We have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O. There is no alphabet between N and O. Great. And here, please notice they do not say in the same, they do not say that we cannot use reverse alphabetical order, we cannot go backwards, or we only have to go in the front direction. Anshu says 3. Sorry, Ashu says 3. Okay, Ashu, what is the third pair? Because yes, there is indeed a third pair. And let me put out the third pair for you. The third pair is O and R. Because if you go through the series of alphabets, let me go K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R. So O and R have 2 letters between them in this word, and in the alphabetical order also O and R have 2 alphabets between them, that is P and Q, which means that this is pair 1, this is pair 2, and this is pair 3, and the answer here is option 4, 3 pairs. I know I might have bedazzled some of you. Some of you might be wondering, how the hell did this happen? What did I just do? How did I just reach this answer? Well, look, observe. If you have doubts, please ask. 10 seconds exactly by my watch, and that tick tick starts now. My watch has started ticking. And while I am talking so much, trust me, 5 seconds are already over. And yes, I'm going to assume that all of you have understood why 3, because nobody asked me how we reached that. Nobody had a doubt here. Great, let's go on to the next question. Now, this next question is something that we call inequalities in logical ability or reasoning, whatever you would like to call it. Let's read the question. In these questions, a relationship between different elements is shown in the statements. The statements are followed by 2 conclusions, and then based on the conclusions, we have to find. Okay, so let us look at the statement that has been given to us. They tell us, okay, let us read the statement. The statement reads as follows. L is greater than P. P is less than equal to G. G is equal to E. E is equal to O. O is less than U. And the first conclusion that they tell us is that O is greater than equal to P. Now, let us identify O and P. O is here and P is here. Let's freeze G and E at the moment. Let's just freeze G and E that exist, and let us analyze this inequality. Now, if you say, we clearly know from here that P is less than equal to O. We know from this inequality, P is less than equal to O. And the inequality that has been given to us is O is greater than equal to P, or P is less than equal to O, which is exactly the same thing, which means that conclusion 1 holds. Let's go to conclusion 2. Conclusion 2 says L is greater than U. Freeze everything between L and U, and if you notice, you get L greater than, less than U. Now, if you notice, these are opposite signs. And whenever we have opposite signs, there is no relation between them, or the relationship cannot be determined, which means that this does not hold true. Which means that the correct answer here is only conclusion 1 follows. Now, I'm wondering how many of you followed this question, because suddenly the chat window has gone absolutely quiet and I do not see comments, questions, answers from any one of you there. So I'm wondering if the chat window has gone silent, if you have not understood this question, or let's say this question was so simple that you guys got it. So suddenly when I say this, I see Azra replying. Azra says 1. Okay, so let's go to another question. Why choose P and Q in the ninth queue? Okay, so we have someone who's asked a question here. Rami asked, why did I choose P and Q? But let me tell you, we haven't chosen P and Q. We have chosen P and O. Q is not even involved in this inequality. Q is not even an option here. So that, so let's move on to the next question. Okay. Okay, let's look at the 11th question. Okay, once again, we have an inequality. Now, if you notice here, boys and girls, we have two inequalities. Inequality 1, inequality 2. Now, in both these inequalities, there is one common element, n. So, since there is a common element, let us write out this inequality. Let us equate them. Let us equate them to each other. Great. So, equating these two, we get C is greater than equal to D. D is less than J. J is equal to N. If you notice, we have done nothing but written the second inequality. Now let's write the first inequality after it, because N is the common element and we are just equating it. N is greater than S. S is less than E. S is greater than E. E is greater than equal to Q. So we have got this one inequality, and let us now try and see the options. D is greater than S. Now if we see D, let's just say freeze the symbols and let's see D, S. Now once again, if you see, there are opposite symbols between the two, and whenever there are opposite symbols between two, between two variables, between two elements, we cannot, there is actually no relation that is possible between them. No relation is possible between them. Therefore, the first conclusion does not hold. Let's go to the second conclusion. The second conclusion says C greater than equal to E. So let's look at this now. The second conclusion says that C is greater than equal to E. Now, in the middle of C also, if you see, there are some interesting twist of symbols that have come. Now, a lot of you may just look at this. A lot of you may just look at this and say, oh, this is exactly representing C is greater than E, and mark the answer. But wait, there are 3 other symbols in the middle, and all 4 of these symbols are not in sync. They are actually opposite in direction. This pair is opposite in direction, and so is this pair, which again means that no relation can be determined between these two. Therefore, it means that conclusion 2 also does not hold true here, and the answer here is option number 4. Neither conclusion 1 nor conclusion 2 can hold true. Okay, so Ashu here says, ma'am, when will either one or may be there? Okay, Ashu, we can always say 1 or 2 may be there when there is a possibility. when there is a sort of a discrepancy, but here we know that whenever there is a opposite relation between, there is a opposite sign of an operator, we know that less than and greater than are two opposite signs, and the minute these two signs are used between two variables, between two letters, we know that no relation is possible between them. So therefore here we will say that option number 4, neither conclusion 1 nor conclusion 2 follow. Okay, I can see here Rami has a doubt about question number 9, and I am going to go back to question number 9 once again to solve his doubt. Okay, so Rami, when Rami is asked, in contrast, CONTRAST, ST makes sense to him, ON makes sense to him. He's wondering between O and R, why did I write P and Q? Okay, listen carefully, guys. For some more of you may be having this doubt. The question says, how many, read the question again. How many pairs of letters are there in the word contrast, each of which has as many letters between them in the word as in the English language? Now, in the English language, between O and R, we have two alphabets, O, P, Q, and then we go to R. And in this word also, there are two letters between O and R. Therefore, this is the third pair that exists, and therefore we said that there are 3 pairs here that exist and not just 2 pairs. Okay, boys and girls, with this we come to our end of our live class for today, and I hope that most of you understood questions that we discussed. The biggest trick to remember here, boys and girls, is that sometimes you do not have to solve every option individually to reach the correct answer. Sometimes you just have to pick up big pointers and eliminate options based on that. You have to keep your eyes absolutely open while doing questions on coding and decoding, because while you are solving these questions, you have to be very careful to pick out the pattern that is being followed so that you can decode the code and then reach the correct answer. So with this, I'm going to wrap up today's session. It's a bye from me at Surabhi at TalentSprint. And keep watching our, subscribe to our YouTube channel, keep watching our videos, keep attending our live classes. And yes, that's the way forward, and keep working hard, keep practicing, and you will all get your dream IT job very soon. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.